Have you ever met someone who genuinely enjoys being alone? Not lonely, not depressed, not rejected by society, just alone. They spend weekends by themselves, they eat alone, travel alone, live alone. And strangely enough, they seem perfectly happy. To many people, this behavior is confusing. We live in a world that constantly tells us that happiness comes from relationships, social gatherings, and being surrounded by people. So, why do some individuals actively choose solitude? The answer lies deep within human psychology. Today, we're exploring the fascinating psychology of people who like to be alone and live alone. And by the end of this video, you might see solitude in a completely different way. Let's start by clearing up a common misconception. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is the painful feeling of lacking meaningful connection. Solitude, on the other hand, is the voluntary choice to spend time with yourself. Psychologists have found that people who enjoy solitude often experience it as peaceful, restorative, and emotionally rewarding. In other words, they aren't escaping people, they're connecting with themselves. One of the biggest reasons some people enjoy being alone is because solitude gives them mental space. Think about how much noise exists in modern life. Notifications, conversations, social media, expectations, opinions. Many people are constantly reacting to the outside world. But when you're alone, something interesting happens. Your attention shifts inward. You begin to process your thoughts more deeply. You reflect on experiences. You understand your emotions better. For some individuals, solitude is where clarity lives. It's where they make their best decisions and discover who they truly are. Another psychological trait often seen in people who enjoy solitude is high self-sufficiency. These individuals don't rely heavily on external validation. Their happiness doesn't depend entirely on approval from others. Of course, they still value relationships, but they don't need constant reassurance to feel worthy. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as having a strong internal locus of control. Instead of looking outward for confidence, they look inward. Their sense of identity comes from their own values, goals, and beliefs. This is one reason they often appear calm and independent. They've learned how to enjoy their own company. Interestingly, many highly creative people also seek solitude. Writers, artists, inventors, scientists. Throughout history, countless creative minds intentionally spent long periods alone. Why? Because creativity often requires uninterrupted thinking. When we are constantly interacting with others, our attention becomes fragmented. But solitude creates room for imagination. Ideas connect, thoughts develop, solutions emerge. Some of humanity's greatest breakthroughs were born in moments of quiet isolation. This doesn't mean every solitary person is a genius, but it does mean that solitude can become a powerful environment for creativity and personal growth. Now let's talk about introversion. Many people assume that anyone who likes being alone must be an introvert. That's partly true, but it's not the whole story. Introverts tend to recharge their energy through quiet environments. Large social gatherings can sometimes feel mentally exhausting. After spending time with others, they often need solitude to regain energy. Extroverts, in contrast, usually recharge through social interaction. But here's something surprising. Even extroverts benefit from solitude. Research shows that spending intentional time alone can improve self-awareness, emotional regulation, and overall well-being for almost everyone. So enjoying solitude isn't just an introvert thing, it's a human thing. Some people simply discover its benefits earlier than others. People who live alone often develop another interesting psychological strength. They become comfortable with themselves. Many individuals fear being alone because solitude forces them to confront their thoughts. There are no distractions, no constant conversations, no background noise, just you. And for some people, that's uncomfortable. But those who spend significant time alone often learn an important skill. They stop running from themselves. They learn to sit with their emotions, understand their fears, reflect on their mistakes, and celebrate their achievements. This process can lead to remarkable emotional maturity, because true self-awareness rarely develops in constant distraction.
However, it's important to acknowledge that solitude has a healthy limit.
Even people who love being alone still need human connection. Humans are social creatures by nature. Meaningful relationships contribute to emotional and physical well being. The healthiest individuals usually find a balance. They enjoy solitude without becoming isolated. They value relationships without becoming dependent on them. They know when to connect with others and when to reconnect with themselves. Balance is the key. Perhaps the most misunderstood thing about people who enjoy living alone is that others often assume they are unhappy. But happiness doesn't look the same for everyone. Some people find joy in crowded gatherings. Others find it in a quiet room with a book. Some feel alive in constant conversation. Others feel alive in peaceful silence. Neither approach is right or wrong. They are simply different paths toward fulfillment. The real question isn't whether someone spends time alone. The real question is whether they are living in a way that aligns with who they truly are. So the next time you meet someone who enjoys being alone or chooses to live alone, don't assume they're lonely. They may have discovered something many people spend years searching for: comfort in their own company, a strong sense of self, and the ability to find peace without depending on constant external stimulation. In a world that never stops talking, sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is become comfortable with silence. Because solitude isn't always an absence of connection. Sometimes it's the deepest connection of all, the connection with yourself. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves their own company. And tell us in the comments, do you enjoy being alone or do you prefer being surrounded by people? We'd love to hear your thoughts.